At this point, you've gone over the tips for using note cards with each other as a class. Remember, we want to use the 3x5 note cards. We want to use as few words as possible. We want to divide the information up in a way that makes sense, which means you're going to get a note card for each slide. We want to include cues, so maybe you want to point to your image at one point. You're going to include that cue on your note cards. We also want to make sure that we number our cards so that they stay in order and we can track them. We want to use the cards while we're practicing today. We also want to make sure that we keep them in order and keep them in a safe place, like in our backpack. We want to make sure that we're not fidgeting with the cards. Here is how that is going to look when you are writing your cards to showcase what is happening on your presentation. So for my first slide on my presentation, it just says graphic design by Mr. Dix. So on my note cards, I just wrote graphic design by Mr. Dix. So I would get up in front of the class, and on this slide, I would say, hello everyone, this is my graphic design presentation, and I am Mr. Dix. For the second slide, you'll see that I have my first image over on the right. It's the image with the yellow background. And then I have three things that I wanted to talk about in regards to the design process of my image. So this first thing that I wrote, for my first image, I looked up butterflies in Adobe Express templates, and the top butterfly and background popped up. I am going to change that up, and I'm not going to write that exactly. I'm going to just write that as a bullet point. So you'll notice I wrote right up here the image yellow graphic design, so I know that this is the yellow graphic design image, so I don't even have to look at my image. I can just flip the slide and know, all right, this is just what is showing up on the board. I also wrote down that this is the butterfly template. I didn't write this whole thing down. I didn't copy this. I just wrote butterfly template because I know that I'll be able to remember what I wrote in regards to the butterfly template. I also wrote that the title of the poem is the same color as the red in the top butterfly. Right here, I just wrote title of the poem, same color as red and butterfly. And then I also wrote put other butterflies to right of text in empty space, which is an abbreviated way of saying what I said right here. Same thing for this one. I have my white background image, and then I have four things that I wanted to talk about in this presentation. So when I go to my cue cards, the image up top, it says the image white graphic design. So I know that's what's showing up on the screen in slide 3. And then I just have little bullet points. Poem says butterflies around my head, so image shows that. Found old photo and removed background, which is what I said right here. Middle of line poem on left, butterflies and head on right. Poem on the left, butterflies on the right, which is what I said right here. And then the butterfly color equals the title color, which is what I said right here. So I'm just using abbreviated ways to say what I already wrote in my presentation so that I can look at my cue cards and I can see, okay, here's what it is cueing me to say right now. The last slide, I just wrote my favorite image is the second image by far. That's all I wrote in my presentation. But on my cue cards, I wrote some reasons why. So I have both images there. So up top it says image, both. Second image is my favorite, which is what I said here. And then I just wrote 3 reasons why. I like the white background more than the yellow background. I like the center aligned poem more than I like it left aligned. And then I like that the color of the title is also the color of the butterflies. And that's all I'm doing for my cue cards. You need to make sure that you have 4 cue cards written down so that you know what you're about to say when you go up and present on Tuesday.